Hello there, and welcome back to Warthon aboard the VCC 80-60. This video will have two parts. The first one being the first 4 minutes, basically describing the nuts and bolts about this tank in a nutshell, and then really showing in the second half why I'm really digging this tank, what makes it so special for me, and why I would kind of recommend it if you really hate flying things in tank RB. So, basically we're talking about a battle rating 9.0, rank 6 Italian light tank that can be described either as a budget HSTV-L, but has not the performance of it except for the one thing that makes it special. Or you can also think about, which also gives a little bit away what it's so good at, it's an intermediate or a hybrid of the OTOMATIC and the Aubl 74 HVG. So let's start with talking about the tank. Let's start with the mobility. It's basically a Dardo hull, so that it's also very similar in its protection. 520 horsepower strong engine propels this 25.2 ton tank with a horsepower to ton ratio of just over 20 to a top speed of 70 km per hour, and in reverse still 32. It has neutral steering, but like all Western MBTs, you have the feeling that it's a bit held back because of the rubber padding of the tracks. It just is always a little bit glued to the ground, a bit more than, let's say, Soviet tanks. Then we have to talk, as I said, about the protection, and yeah, there is no era, there is no Nera, there is not really thick steel. It's sloped at the start in the front. It might be machine gun safe, but that's about it. Don't rely on it, don't get hit. That's the TLDR. And you also die quite fast due to two things. First of all, you only have 3 crew members, and you also have the ammunition standing upright in front of the turret crew. And that is your ready rack. So now let's talk about the firepower. And as you can see, it's quite a bit different, but not really that outstanding in multiple ways. You have the 60mm Cannone da 60-70, which is very similar to the one from the Aubl 74 HVG. And let's first talk about the gun handling. You have 32 rounds, and you have 16 in the ready rack, which is not the one in the back of the turret as you might expect it. It's the one in front of the turret crew standing vertically up. Then you have 2-second reload. You have 6 degrees of gun depression and 40 degrees of gun elevation. That's part 1 of why it's so spectacular. And you also have quite the nice turret rotation speed, and this is further aided by a very good and quick laser rangefinder, thermals for the gunner of good quality. Then you have also a very nice stabilizer, and 2 seconds, as I already said, coming from an autoloader. So even if you lose 1 crew member, you're fully able to bring your firepower to bear. But you should fight around caps, because you have basically 3 shell types, and I would recommend you to play with 2 of those. So that's kind of splitting your ammunition account, and you cannot really switch between the 2 ammunitions regardless of the ammunition. The ammunition is rather specialized. The APFSDS is more or less the same as from the Aubl 74 HVG, so 250mm of penetration, but the post-penetration damage effect isn't that great, and also you seem to have some issues with spaced armor. So the turret, for example, of the Leo A1A1 gave me a real trouble to make it work, and the post-penetration damage isn't that great. The HE round is irrelevant, but then there is the HEVT round, and it packs nearly 800 grams of TNT bursting charge. It has a variable time fuse and does this to anything that flies. And this is basically now welcoming you to part 2 of this video. What makes this thing special? It is the combination of the quick reload, the good gun handling, and that you have also this surprisingly effective HEVT round. And it gives me some 5-inch 38 vibes. A lot of you don't watch my naval videos, and to be honest, I really don't highlight this too much, but this is basically what I do off screen. Play a US destroyer and snipe flying things. And on a good day, I can do this from the hip on flying things 5 kilometers away, just throwing the HEVT rounds into their flight path. And it's just beautiful. And to have this on a light tank, it gives it so much more versatility. Very often you are very good at either shooting down aircraft, but not so great at dealing with tanks. Very often you are great at dealing with tanks, with light tanks. And this tank has a good middle ground. And further, it's not stupidly overpowered, it's not broken in any way, but if you put skill into it and give it a bit of try, you can make it work. And that is why I love it so much. So yes, you could say it would be better with a 30mm rapid fire autocannon with more ammunition, etc. Or you could say, oh, I love the automatic because it has just such a more powerful gun. But the automatic is what shouldn't be in War Thunder in the first place. This tank is, as surprising as it sounds, more balanced, yet very effective. And yeah, that's 3.5 kilometers and we one-shot an Mi-24P. It's beautiful. And further, when you are with the Vanguard, with other light tanks, they can focus on dealing with the tanks, right? And you're a second line fighter. And that gives you a little bit of a not so stressful situation, while you also can be useful for your team. And while there was a big light panzer with me, which is also very good at dealing with helicopters, I was the one killing that guy. And here you also could see one thing that makes this shell really great. It is even more effective if it detonates above or below the target. I don't know how the Italians managed to put nearly 800 grams of TNT equivalent bursting charge into a 60mm shell, but they did. And it works. And it's beautiful. I'm an absolute fan of this. I'm digging this. So I can't get enough of this, despite its relative high price for its battle rating in terms of RP and civilians. I would consider this to be worth it. It's just flexible and it fits the Italian lineup at 9.0 so nice. I love it. And I really also love the skin and overall the proportions of the vehicle. It's Italian. Now, one thing about, if you have not already seen it, that really is worth noticing, the muzzle velocity of this HEVT round is 1,000 meters per second, but it falls off quite drastically, and so you have to take this into account for leading. And yeah, we didn't even look at the kill shot here, because there is something else in the air already. But also what is noticeable is how beautiful certain kills are. One-shotting this B-57 and then he actually goes in the flat spin upwards. Watch here. And then we hear his autistic screaming. And sometimes it's also, because of the 2 seconds, you don't have this bum 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 bum. You have to really take your time to just drop the HEVT round perfectly into their flying path. It's just fantastic. And to really slap A4Es out of the sky, delicious. But yeah, again, back to the post-penetration damage issue with this tank. Sometimes you hit them so often, you switch to the other side and you have to take so many rounds into them that you kind of forget how many shells you have left, and that might be the downside. And also this helicopter, first shell hitting him quite far apart from where the shell exploded, and I can't take him down, hitting him 4 times in a row and that getting a kill assist. That can happen as well, but I'm not even mad. Because then the very next game you have a beautiful kill like this. And watch out, the next shell directly explodes in front of the armored cockpit apparently and does nothing, but the second shell hitting from the side does the job, seals the deal. And it's just, I don't know why I am so deeply satisfied by playing this tank, but it's just not stupidly overpowered. But it is so good in my hands. It's basically what I want. And yeah, then there are also scenes like this where I'm just whack-a-moling with this guy. That was unnecessary. And in the next scene, you can actually see that I have no ammunition and this guy doesn't spot me. That's also hilarious. And that is just a perfect ending for this video. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Why not give it a like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see more. And we'll see each other on the waves, in the skies, and on the battlefields of War Thunder.